talk to you today about something really important when you start your freelance writing career that I feel it's way too easy to lose sight of, and that is getting clients. Yes, there are a couple of things you need to have in place before you launch a freelance writing career. A pitch and samples are two of them, but those should only take you a couple of hours to put together. And the first episode of my podcast, The Better Biz Academy, which can be found on iTunes and Stitcher Radio, goes into detail about the three non-negotiables of starting your freelance writing career. And although you need to have those things to pitch yourself to clients and to start having conversations and landing business, don't allow all of these other shiny objects basically to distract you from what should be your core goal, which is putting together the marketing plan with the samples and the pitch you've created and actually landing clients. There's plenty of information out there about a freelance writing career. And that's a wonderful thing because when I started, there were so few resources. But these days you can find books, courses, blogs, all kinds of free information about being a freelance writer. And some of that can be a little bit confusing because some people will tell you, oh, you absolutely need to have a fully functioning website before you get started. That is not true. I did not have a freelance writing website for the first 3 years of my business. It's still a very small component of how I win business. So although it's important, it's something you want to have eventually so people can find you and make sure you're a legitimate service provider, it's not the be all and end all. So I see a lot of new freelance writers talking about, well, I'll get started when? I'll get started when I've been published somewhere and I have an official clip. I'll get started when my website is complete. Speaking from experience, whether you're building your website on your own or whether you're hiring someone to do it, it seems to always take longer than you plan, and those are opportunities that you're missing in the meantime. The best practice you can get as a new freelance writer is getting your first client. That's frequently a hurdle that a lot of people struggle with, but once you get past that point, the confidence from that small win will help you land other clients. So if you've never landed a client before as a freelance writer, that should be your number one goal. And there's very little that goes into achieving that the first time around. If your samples are really good, if your pitch is excellent, and if you're marketing in the right way, this shouldn't take you long at all. And as you get that practice, you'll be able to set aside some money as you bring in more clients to be able to pull off those things like having the time to build a website. But don't be someone who sits on the sidelines and says, I'll get started when, I'll get started if. One of the greatest regrets that I hear a lot of freelance writers talk about, and this is definitely something that I regret a little bit as well, I wish I had started sooner. I wish I knew about it because this would have been a tremendous help to me when I was in my master's program making $1,100 a month as a teaching assistant. It would have been huge to be able to supplement my earnings with $500 or $1,000 a month extra during that time. So I urge you to consider starting now. And as I've mentioned, the first episode of my podcast goes into greater detail about the only 3 things you really need to start a freelance writing career. And none of them involve a huge investment of money. So very positive and uplifting to think about the fact that there's things you can do that will take a couple of hours, a little bit of effort on your part, but it can pay off in spades, right? Because once you've written a really great pitch, you use that over and over. Once you have some excellent writing samples, you use that over and over.